The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard.
Hello and welcome to Fort Worth for the Texas 150, and happy Halloween to everyone. This is the third race in the round of 8 for the 2016 premier race in the Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series Chase for the Championship, and we're going to have all the action live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth we have Bill Zahn this week. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and our camera sets are provided by Dougie Beard. Bill, 1.5 mile racetracks on the NASCAR schedule get referred to often as cookie cutter tracks, but each still has their own distinct personalities. What exactly does Texas Motor Speedway have to offer us?
Well, Sam, to call Texas a cookie cutter track would be inaccurate, mainly because cookie cutters cut cookies. However, if one could imagine a giant D-shaped tin ring about 1.5 miles in circumference that could be pushed into the earth, it's honestly really not hard to envision it being used to mold Charlotte, Atlanta, and then later on here again at Fort Worth. Now, Texas is a 1.5 mile asphalt track with 24 degrees of banking. Those are the exact same stats as Charlotte and Atlanta. What makes Texas Motor Speedway unique is it is the only track hosting a Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series event here on GSRC right now. However, 4 races ago, Charlotte was on the schedule in the round of 12, and if those results are any indication of what's in store for our 8 chasers today, you could look out for Jeff Ward, who took the Charlotte win. Also, Big Joe Hassard landed 5th, and Jake Wright had a 6th. Now, chasers who struggled at Charlotte were Brian Yazek, he had a 10th, James Motley Kahula a 12th, Tommy Rain had a 14th, but remember, Tommy is locked in thanks to a round 8 win at Fives Flags. Brian Seedless Mellendorf scored a 15th with Pierre Nightingale, who really struggled. He had a 24th. I expect the low line to be the fastest way around, but weather and changing track condition could prove me wrong, but I feel pretty confident about that low line being the preferred line tonight. I'll be making a point to monitor the lap times to compare the long fuel run strategy versus any short stints, but I don't really think the short stints is an option, only with 60% fuel. That's going to be about 1 or 2 stops. We're dealing with fixed setups today, and of course it's 100 laps of competition today, and our weather right now. It's daytime. Let's take a look and see what we're dealing with. Right now, clear skies, 84 degrees, track temperature is 110. But one thing is for certain, the best way to get an idea of what Texas is really like, how about a video lap around?
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing Channel. My name is Brian Yazek and I'll be taking you for a spin around the Texas Motor Speedway. Texas is an old, worn out 1.5 mile speedway, sure to be a whole lot of fun for the drivers. But without further ado, here we go. For your hot lap, you're cutting the dog leg here just a little bit, bring it right down here by the grass and drive it almost straight out to that Texas sign on the wall. Rolling through the corners, these cars do not have a whole lot of off-throttle time just because of the lack of horsepower. So really, the most you're going to get out of it is about half throttle coming through here. Turns 3 and 4 is a little tricky because if you overdrive it, the car will want to snap around loose on you. So you roll through here, 80, 90, back onto the full throttle, swinging it right out here towards the wall, right about where those stars start to line up. Now as the tires burn off, you're going to see guys here in 1 and 2 probably run it a little higher and split this seam right here on the speedway, cutting right down below it. Turn 2, the banking falls off incredibly quickly, and it can provide a driver a whole lot of moments behind the steering wheel. Turns 3 and 4, not so much. You're going to see guys still hugging the white line, back onto the full throttle, coming out of the corners, and still cutting the dog leg. Texas is going to be a whole lot of fun, puts on a great show for the fans. The drivers love it. My name is Brian Yazek, and this is Texas Motor Speedway.
Alright, well, we've talked about the track. There you see it, and in the top left of your screen you see that we have 20 seconds left of practice. Then we're going to advance to a 10-minute qualifying session. Each driver will have the track to themselves for 2 laps. Which drivers are those? Well, we mentioned we're in the chase for the championship. There's still 8 of them competing for the title, and let's have a look at the standings right now and give you an idea. You can see we've gone down from 12 to 8, and Tommy Ryan has already advanced into the championship 4 with his win last time out at Five Flags Speedway. Brian Yazek, Wright and Ward are also looking good right now. You can see they all have a huge points lead over Joe Hassett, Pierre Daigle, James Kahula and Brian Mellendorf. Brian Mellendorf and Joe Hasser are actually not in the session right now, so we'll keep you updated on those if they do join. But it looks like, Bill, our eyes are going to have to be on Pierre Daigle and James Krahula tonight, because if neither of those two win, then those 4 drivers we see highlighted in yellow right there, those are the 4 that will be fighting for the championship.
Yeah, some of those drivers have got to get a win. Of course, this is round 3. I believe there's one more. Is there only 3 rounds? 3 rounds of 3, I guess.
Yes,
This is it today.
yes.
So there's not the 4 that I'm used to in the official NASCAR series. Yeah, so I think it's going to be a win or winner you're out here today. So be looking for Hasser, Daigle, and Daigle and Krahula, all those guys to try to get to the checkered flag first. I think that's their only hope.
Yeah, and that's not a good start there for Pierre Daigle. We see him on screen right there, wrecking on his outlap. Well, he's really trying to get a good qualifying time here. The good thing, of course, is he didn't cross the line, so he'll still get to run 2 qualifying laps. Meanwhile, the drivers are beginning to put in their times. The fastest driver in practice, for the record, was J.D. Laird. He ran a 29.5, but we're already seeing cars in qualifying run a 29.4.
And we have Jeff Ward up on top, sitting there with the 29.4 right now, as we're getting a few cars putting in their best of 2, I believe, is what they have here.
Yeah, it is, and that was interesting what we saw on screen right there. J.D. Laird was a number 23 car, locking up, trying not to go over the start line and keep himself another lap. I don't think he was, well, he must have been able to wear himself up in time, because he's back out there on course now. But that's certainly not how he was planning on his qualifying on going. He might have his work cut out for him. We're going to have to wait and see where he ends up. But as you mentioned, Bill, Jeff Ward is the fastest driver in qualifying right now and provisional pole sitter. And you mentioned Ward had won at Charlotte a few rounds ago, a track kind of similar on paper to this, although I think this circuit is much more bumpier. But Jeff Ward has taken 7 wins this season, including that one at Charlotte, so we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on him.
It'll be interesting to talk to Jeff. I'll be surprised if I'm correct on this, but I believe Jeff Ward is the name of course, Indy 500 fans would know Roger Ward back from the 50s and 60s and early 70s. He had a son named Jeff Ward that I believe raced at Indy, so I'm not sure if that is the same Jeff Ward, but we've been surprised by that before. For right now, for my own sake, I'm going to believe that it is. Now,
And
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Bill. We just saw what happened to J.D. Laird there. I think that he may have to start from the back of a field. He was on a hot lap, came out of turn 4, got in the wall, and I'm pretty sure that is his qualifying session done. So he will have his work cut out for him. Go ahead, Bill.
Viewers new to iRacing might be a bit confused. It is solo qualifying right now. Each driver is basically out there by himself. When he's in the cockpit, all he can see is himself. He won't see any competitors with him. We have the technology to flip through into each driver's personal universe and get an idea of going on. Right now, we look at Chad Coleman.
Yeah, Chad Coleman, one of the very few drivers, in fact he's the only driver on course right now. Now, not all of the drivers have gone out and set a qualifying time. Some of them opt to start from the back. And even though you see 6 minutes left on the clock there, they're going to have a drivers meeting in the final 5 minutes before we advance to the race. So, it looks like we're going to see how high Coleman can go. And he goes up to 10th there, and I think that is actually going to wrap out our qualifying session, and that means our Savage Spinners Pole Award will be awarded to Jeff Ward.
We're going to pull up the lap right now, get a replay of Jeff working around this 1.5 miles here under the Texas sun. Looking at it now.
Yeah, you can see him using up all of the racetrack on his, I believe this is his outlap we're watching here, yeah, because when he goes hot lapping in a couple of turns time, you'll see him, as Bill mentioned at the start of the broadcast, nailed down to that low line trying to get the shortest way around here. Remember, these are the Xfinity Series cars, so they don't have as much horsepower as the Cup cars. They can run flat out, especially on new tyres at a track as big, so Jeff just had to keep it down low. I mean, there's probably a tiny bit of lifting going on the entry of the turns, But I'll tell you what, Bill, considering how fast this is, I'm surprised there's half a second between the fastest and the slowest cars that turn laps during qualifying. Things could get spread out here, hopefully not. These drivers usually put on good shows. It's something we're going to have to keep an eye on as the night goes on.
I'm going to take my GSRC press guide there, my little press pass, and see if I can get admitted into those suites there at Texas Motor Speedway. Those look nice. Don't think that'll get me very far, but this is a great complex if you've never been here. Really, really, really nice. About 20 years old, but still wears well.
Yeah, you see Jeff Ward ran both qualifying laps incident-free, and his first one was actually a 1/10 of a second faster than his second lap, so that just shows you how much the tyres wear off. With this old surface out here, Bill, it's very bumpy. These cars are going to be going at a very high speed. They're using a fixed setup, so the drivers can't really adjust the setup, whether they like loose cars or tight cars. In other words, I'm pretty sure tyre wear is going to be a factor tonight.
Yeah, with only, when we talked about in my little segment there, with only 60% fuel, they may want to run it till the tank is dry. Remember, 60% means that they're not starting with a full tank with only 60% in it. It's actually a smaller fuel cell that only holds 60% of what it normally would. But I would wonder if maybe somebody may want to consider pitting early and seeing if the wear from the tire slow you down so much that maybe making this a 3-stop might be the way to go. We'll see how it plays out. Of course, we have full course yellows here, so that can change your strategy at the drop of a hat. Or of a flag, I guess, in this case.
Yeah, so while we've still got 3 minutes until the cars begin gridding up, let's talk about how our chase drivers qualified. We mentioned there's 8 of them. However, Brian Mellendorf and Joe Hassett are not here. Brian Mellendorf, kind of understandably so. He was so far out in points he would have to depend on a win. Perhaps, I guess, he's not a fan of Texas, or maybe he's out there trick-or-treating with his kids. Who knows? Joe Hassett, though, that's a bit of a surprise to not see him here, and unfortunate as well. So that leaves us with Brian Yazik, Drake Wright, Jeff Ward, and Tommy Ryan, and Pierre Daigle and James Kreuler. Now, where did they qualify? Jeff Ward, we saw him, he has the pole position. Drake Wright will be the second highest, starting 4th, and James Kreuler in 5th. Tommy Ryan also up there, but he already has a win in this round of a trace. He's starting 7th on the grid. Pierre Daigle and Brian Yazik in 11th and 12th respectively, and I believe that's all of them there, Bill. So they're all starting toward the front.
Now, keep in mind, viewers, it's my first time into this series, but looking at the points right now, I'm looking at Tommy Ryan. He's got 3,063 points. I see Daigle with 3,059 points. So when I said maybe before, also Kreuler with 3,059 points. When I said maybe it's win or you're out, that may not be the case, as Kreuler and Daigle may be close enough to Tommy Ryan to actually sneak himself into that chase, get above the Mendoza line there.
Yeah, but let's recall that Tommy Ryan has a win, Bill.
It's locked in. Okay.
Yeah, so they would have to catch Jeff Ward and
76.
Yeah, that's
about 16 points difference, it looks like, then, that they're going to have to make up. Maybe a little more. So, yeah, that's a big number, especially with the point differentials, the way they spread them out here.
Yeah, but it definitely is possible. If Tommy Ryan does run into trouble early on during this race, you bring up a good point here, Bill, that it is something we'll have to keep an eye on. However, Tommy Ryan is one of the cleanest drivers that we usually broadcast to in oval races here on the GSRC. Trying to see if I can get a stat on that. Here we are. Of the 8 chase drivers left, Tommy Ryan has accumulated 37 incident points throughout the whole season. The second lowest number is Brian Yazik. He has 69. That's almost double. So Tommy's very good at not only getting his car to the finish line towards the front, but doing it without much contact.
Yeah, so Jeff Ward has to be real careful here. He has to be happy because a disaster for him could cost him the chase, as he's still within striking distance of Daigle and Kreuler. Nice that Jeff Ward out on the pole. We'll give you those complete rundown here in just a minute as soon as the driver meeting is done.
Yeah, I apologise. I was reading off Tommy Ryan's stats. Yes, of course, Jeff Ward is a driver we need to be keeping an eye on. Jeff Ward's incident points for the record are 78 over the whole season, which is still a relatively low number. But yeah, he's the one that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Make sure he doesn't get involved in an incident. You know what? That's enough speculation. I've confused the audience enough already. We're going grid in. Let's run through our grid. This should be pretty plain and simple. It's Jeff Ward with our Savage Spinners Pole Award lined up alongside him. And we're having a bit of a technical difficulty there. There we go. Yep, Alan Creer will be lined up alongside him there. And then we got Jordan Hightower and Drake Wright on the second row. James Kahula means all top 5 of our drivers are within a tenth of a second of another. He's lined up alongside Drew Carroll. And then we have Tommy Ryan and Dan Murray on the fourth row, ahead of Troy Haight and Chad Coleman rounding out the top 10, Bill.
Row 6 is going to see Pierre Nightingale. Outside of him is going to be Brian Yasik. Then you're going to have Nick Cohen behind him. Outside of him, G.J. Beverly in the 14th spot. Travis McQuistion in the 15th position. Jonathan Lawrence outside of him, all ribbons and curls in 16th. Woodrow Mahan in 17th. 18th spot goes to Don Runkle Jr. 19th and 20th. Now, these guys didn't post in qualifying times, but they're going to lock in here in 19th and 20th. J.D. Laird and Nick Thames. Sam?
Yeah, and then we go back into the final part of the field. We got Ricky Monzo and Adam Blattle there lined up alongside. None of these drivers put on the time. Adam Blattle and Randy Yoakum behind them. I'm sorry, Randy Yoakum and Calvin Filasky. And then we've got Tommy Mazzi. And boy, we've got a lot of new names at the back here that I'm going to butcher all night long. John Wilco, a new name. Andrew Hueft and Mark Nober. Well, we're familiar with Mark. And then Chad Stallman rounding out the field.
29 names on the entry list, 29 cars on the grid. So it looks like everybody's going to be out there right now.
Yeah, I think that's 27 actually, Bill. I called out Chad Stallman on the back there. You didn't see him on the graphic. That's because he's not a part of a session, and also Nick Thames isn't. So it looks like we will have 27 cars take in the green flag. They are rolling off of the starting grid now. One pace lap around this 1.5 mile speedway, and then we will be racing for 100 laps. And I expect a very green flag feel to this race, Bill. It's a circuit where I think we are going to see a bit of single file racing due to the tyre wear, and also these drivers put on pretty clean shows. Probably means we're going to see a bit of a strategy race, but I'll tell you what, I still think we're going to have a lot of challengers up front. We have a lot of drivers, 5 drivers within a tenth of a second in qualifying, so hopefully they all put on a great show for us tonight, as they have throughout the course of the year to this point.
We'll do our best to keep track of the guys up front, the guys in back. It's not only the guys who are battling to get in the chase.
Yeah, and then of course guys in back especially, we're going to want to keep an eye on them. If this does turn into a strategy race, those will be the drivers who have nothing to lose. Maybe play a 2-tyre call later on or something along those lines. We're about to find out, because the Ford Mustang pace car is about to make the hard left turn down into the pits. Jeff Ward has control of the field. He's on the inside lane there. He's on the loud pedal, and we are racing here at Texas Motor Speedway. Nice start by Jeff Ward. He leads them all into the first turn. Jordan Hightower, that low line is really benefiting the drivers who started on the inside, the odd number positions. Now he moves up into second. Drake Wright drops back to third, and it was a bad start by Alan Creer. He has already dropped back to fourth from second on the grid.
Pretty much single file all the way through the field. A few cars too wide in the back, but they're getting that sorted out. Everybody doing a nice job of behaving in these early laps.
This is not where the field wants to see Jeff Ward already. He is in first place, and he is pulling away from Jordan Hightower. There's a reason he has 7 wins this season. He is very fast indeed. Now, of course, could this hurt him in the long run? We'll have to wait and see. It looks like we're going to have a long run, because as Bill mentioned, most of the field single file. Very few cars still upstairs. I do see a couple battles in the middle of the field though, Bill. Oh, and Tommy and Messi is in trouble.
It looks like he might have got involved with DJ Beverly.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on here. We mentioned those battles in the middle of the field. This was one of them. Oh, and you see that started down halfway down the middle of the straight. These guys did a whale of a job to not wreck there. Oh, and Nick Cohan was involved in... Now, he's still in the race. He's still on the lead lap. You see what happened to Cohan at the back here. I'm amazed this didn't bring out a caution.
Cohan in the 50. He had McQuistion on the outside of it. It looked like Cohan may have just come up and squeezed the 93 car. Then that car got into the 02 of DJ Beverly. So it's kind of a chain reaction that got that guys out.
Now, Cohan's car does have damage. Now, of course, we're used to seeing Cohan here on the GSRC. He is not a chase driver, though. In this series, even though he's a regular front runner, we would have expected him to be racing for a win. But I think at this very aerodynamic track, with the damage he has, that's not going to be the case today. Meanwhile, battle for 6th place going on. You see it at the back of your screen there. Drew Carroll just moved up by Tommy Ryan.
And Ryan able to duck just inside of that number 82 machine of Troy Hayden. It's 4-car battle there with the last one, Dan Murray in that 5.
So already a bit of early drama in the middle of the field, but the field seems to have sorted themselves out. Let's not forget, as we mentioned, the head of the broadcast, Tommy Ryan, is the one driver really just out there racing for the win today. Not going to do it back there from 7th. In fact, he's fallen back a little more. We're running on board Dan Murray here in 9th, right behind Troy Haight in 8th. And he's actually not too far behind Tommy Ryan here, so this will be interesting to see if these drivers begin to get impatient and want to make moves to get up towards the front.
One thing that the viewers may be wondering about, if this is the second race in the chase in this little round of 8, why there aren't 2 cars that are locked in. Well, that's because one of the winners was Ricky Hardeen, and he is not a chaser. So that's why we only have the 1 car locked in right now, thanks to that win, and that is, of course, Tommy Ryan.
Yeah, that also explains why we don't have Ricky Hardin in the field tonight. And there we see that pass for 8's being completed. Dan Murray in front of Troy Haight. Pierre Daigle, the next driver behind him. We mentioned Pierre Daigle and James Kahula, the 2 drivers who can get in by either winning or by wishing bad luck on Jeff Ward. Well, right now, Bill, they're going to have to wish a bit harder for bad luck on Jeff Ward because he's just cruising up front.
Well, in contrast to the sunlight that you see on there right now, in all actuality here in the U.S., it is Halloween night. So I guess if you're going to have some bad luck, this might be the night for it.
We're beginning to see the cars push on the exit turn 2. I think Ricky Monzo just hit the wall, knocked the wall down, and we're going to see more and more of that as the tyres wear off a little bit, and you know, they just get tight on the exit of a second corner there. Ricky continues, but the right side of his car scraped up a bit.
Go look at currently running 19th, I guess 13th position, J.D. Laird just made a nice pass on the 55 machine of Brian Yasek. Yox is not giving up the ghost here, though, looking to come back on that one.
Yeah, well, let's not forget why J.D. Laird is back there. He was qualifying. He wanted to start at the front of the field. He should have started at the front of the field. He was fastest in practice, but when it came time to qualify, he just pushed a little bit coming out of turn 4 a couple too many times. Wasn't able to set in a clean lap, and so he's had his work cut out for him here early. He's moved up to 12th place, but he's got the easy drivers done. He's got a lot tougher drivers in front of him, but he's got a long way still to go. 89 laps left on the board.
Sam, they are nicely strung out up front. You look here, Ward, Hightower, Wright, Pryor, Rahula, Carroll, none of them really, they're all about 10 car lengths apart from each other right now.
Yeah, and I think this is to be expected, partly because of stand. One of them into the wall, Drew Carroll, 6th place. It's going to cost him a lot of momentum. Tommy Ryan in 7th, running him down as they enter turn 3.
Boy, coming out of 2, that car just pushed up. He could not get it to turn down. That 97 just goes up, excuse me, the 87 goes up and bangs off the wall. And now he is be right on board with him. We are struggling right now. He's got that 6 car behind him of Tommy Ryan. And also Dan Murray back there looking for a way around as well. That's a battle for 6th position.
And there goes Murray. You can kind of see him poking his nose down to the inside there. And Tommy Ryan's already locked in, as we mentioned a couple of times. So, I mean, there's two ways of looking at that. You could say, well, he's here the race for the win, but there's also the fact that it doesn't matter if he doesn't win. You know, if someone gets underneath him, they can race him knowing the fact that, oh boy, although things are getting a bit wild here.
I think it's safe to say that Tommy would not be involved in this right now if he didn't know he had that win already tucked away in his pocket. He's having fun out there in this 4-car battle.
Yes, and Dan Murray moves to the front of the pack ahead of Drew Carroll. Tommy Ryan now being challenged for position by Troy Haight. I think Tommy is doing something that happens to me a lot on iRacing. Once one driver overtakes you cleanly, the drivers by and say, hey, that guy's letting people by cleanly, I'm going to take advantage too. Meanwhile, you probably just saw a driver got in the wall exit in turn 2 again there. That was Adam Blattel.
And I wish I was more involved in this series to really talk more about it, but when I look at the point standings, I see also in the above the Mendoza line is Jake Wright, but I don't think Jake is here tonight. I don't believe there's any mulligans. Oh, is Jake here?
He's rounding up in 3rd position.
Oh, there he is in 3rd. I apologize, Jake.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget these drivers running up in front right now. There's not a whole lot going on, except for the lead,
well, look
where
at this.
Jordan Hightower is looking underneath Jeff Ward. I was wondering, I mentioned at the start that Jeff Ward really checking out at early on in the run. Would that burn off his tyres in the long run? Sure enough, Jordan Hightower has run him down and taken the lead.
Just to follow up on Jake Wright, he is just picked up the championship in the Lionheart Series, another series we cover here on the IndyCar, or on the Global Sim Racing channel. Of course, that's an IndyCar league. They salute Dan Weldon for that one. Congratulations. I believe that's 2 in a row for him.
Yeah, looking to pick up another championship this season here if he keeps this up. Now, I was looking through a couple of these drivers that are kind of relatively new to the series ahead of the broadcast. I believe Jordan Hightower has an I rating in the 6,000, so we shouldn't be too surprised him being up the front here. Meanwhile, battle around 10th place.
Let's be more specific. 63.45. My gosh. You could triple my I rating and it still wouldn't equal that.
And in front of this pack, you see Tommy Ryan trying to make a move back by Dan Murray for 6th place. And then, of course, two drivers worth keeping an eye on in that huge pack back there. Brian Jarzik and J.D. Laird trying to rally their way through the field. You mentioned at the top of the broadcast here, Bill, Brian didn't really have a great race at Charlotte. He's not having a great race here tonight.
No, he can't seem to get the... Maybe he doesn't like the layout here. He has another 80 laps to get this figured out. And of course, keep in mind, viewers, stick with us, because then in the round of 4, one of the tracks will be Atlanta. So you can get a good idea of what to expect when they go down south. Although it's a little tense, sometimes the temperature a little hotter down there when they go into Georgia. Look at that battle on the screen right now. That's that number 87. That's Drew Carroll. And the 82 of Haight right behind him, and the 23 of Lard.
Yeah, let's not forget that we saw Drew Carroll running up in 6th place a little while ago, and tank slapped the wall coming out of turn 2. And now we see him here back in 10th, and maybe almost falling to 12th. So that damage probably affecting him a little bit. And J.D. Laird, of course, on the opposite end of the spectrum, trying to make up for his incident in qualifying. Oh, and we had the car slow on the back straight. That's Nick Cohan coming out of the pits. I guess he pitted early to try and get some of that damage repaired. has put him a lap down. Maybe he's doing the short pit strategy you were mentioning here, Bill. Just look how much faster he is on those newer tyres, despite that damage. Well, you can't see it now because on the front straight. Let's see what he can do with Alan Krier here in the turn. On the high side, the longer way around, just powers by.
And boy, he actually has to check up a little bit as he goes around the 27 of Jake Wright. That 50 is the only car who has pitted. Now you can see he lost momentum there. Don't be confused by the 116 gaining on him. That was just because Cohan had to check up there. Sam, the drivers kept the strategy pretty close to the vest. We get reports of it being a 1 to 2 stop race, which means either lap 50 or 33. What I think Cohan has done here is made it a 3-stop race. He's going to pit 25, 50, 75, bring it all the way home from there.
Yeah, well, I'm still not sure about Cohan's damage there, if he'll be able to compete up front. Meanwhile, you saw what that did when Cohan was going by. It actually cost Jake Wright 2 positions. Now, we can't forget Jake Wright is only 1 point ahead of Jeff Ward. Him and Brian Jarzik are both in similar boat that a crash could take them both out of the chase, especially with so many cars still running out there. So Jake Wright just yielded those 2 positions. He won't be happy about it, but he'll still advance to the Championship 4 if he keeps his car up in the top 10 and in the wall.
In the wall, but he keeps it going straight, so there is no yellow flag. And
Dan Murray had to trek up behind him, and that costs Murray 7th position to Chad Coleman, who's now looking 6th on Jake Wright. Chad Coleman's had a pretty good race so far. He just took 6th, he started 10th.
And the number 22 machine of Jordan Hightower, your leader, has just been passed by Nick Cohan. Oh, excuse me. So Cohan gets his lap back. I believe he was only 1 lap down. I think that's going to put him now back on the lead lap.
No, he was about half a lap down because of that incident early on. I think he's on the tail end of being 1 lap down here. Now the good news though, Bill, is that if a caution did come out right now, he would get the lucky dog. And that's going to be the case for a while, because the last car on the lead lap is Tommy Emesi. We saw him slow early on, and in fact he is... Well, I take back what I said a little while ago, because Jordan Hightower is about only a quarter of a lap behind him.
Boy, I wish I could be on the pit box. I'd be calling some of these guys that are in the back right now that have no chance of winning this thing if they run the same strategy as the leader. Give it a shot, guys. Let's come in now. Let's see what happens with fresh tires.
One of them is Don Runkle Jr. kicks it off.
In baseball, it's called hitting them where they ain't. You know, if take the road less traveled.
Yeah, and Don Runkle Jr. is no slouch, but he's been running at the back today, so let's see what he can do with a bit of strategy. Meanwhile, James Krahula, a driver who, if he wins, could knock out Jeff Ward, Jake Wright, or Brian Jarzik out of a chase. He's made his way up to 3rd here, battling for the lead.
Look at that. Even somebody with bad rods and cones like me can tell those colors there. That blue car out in front, that's Hightower, Ward in the dark machine, and then the citrus-flavored car of James Krahula. 1, 2, 3.
Widrow Mahan also pits. Pierre Dagon, I'm being told, is in the grass. Comes back on, still pointing in the right direction, hasn't lost any position, so probably just got a couple wheels in there.
Yep. Yeah, Daigle kind of shortened the bootleg there a little bit. This kind of not sure where he was going. Watch what's happening here. This is a strange place to actually put the car in the grass.
Yeah, he's been watching Formula 1 too much. Meanwhile, Krahula, Murray, Haight and Blatter all into the pits.
We look at Daigle here. I guess the car may have got just a little bit loose, but there's a little Dale Earnhardt there, getting the 2 left-hand tires on the grass. So now some big names starting to come in, Sam.
Tommy Ryan pits on lap number 31.
This is close to the 1/3 mark. A little bit early, I would think, if you were thinking to break this up into 3 even segments.
Yeah, well, they could just be short pitting here, Bill, trying to get the tyre advantage for the drivers who do pit on lap 33. Alan Creer coming in this time by. So, the order before this round of stops began was Hightower, Ward, Krahula. Hightower and Ward are still out there. Now Hightower's just announced he's coming into the pits. I expect Krahula to be leading the race once this is all over.
Yeah, I do too. And the 24 is out there passing cars who have yet to pit like they are standing still. He's going to have a couple laps at a much faster speed than our leaders. Of course, it's a pay me now, pay me later type situation. Those 2 laps that he has that advantage right now, he's going to have 2 laps older tires. So in theory, those guys up front like Hightower are going to be able to run him down slowly but surely. Assuming it stays green. Go ahead, Sam.
Jordan Hightower was very hot into the pits. I think he got wound up enough though. I don't think he should get a penalty for that.
And
oh, DJ Beverly turned around on the back straight, keeps on the apron, takes the toe to the pits, no caution.
Wow, that's good news for some of these guys. As Jeff Ward was coming in right then, I'm not sure how that would have played out, if he would have been happy to see the yellow or not. Ward in the pits right now.
Now we see what happened to Beverly. Meanwhile, JD Laird is currently the leader. He is yet to pit. Now he comes into the pits. He was losing a lot of time. John Wilco has still yet to pit, so he will take up the lead if he doesn't come down this time by. And now Krahula has gone by Wilco. He just passed him on track and has gapped him by a second. That's how much new tyres are worth. In fact, I think that's because Wilco's now slowing down to come in.
Yeah, Krahula is way out in front of Hightower. He's got him by quite a margin.
But Hightower has fresher tyres.
Krahula working on, this is his 5th lap on this stint. Hightower's only been out there for 2, so Krahula came in 3 laps earlier. That explains why he's out in front. But again, like we talked about, Hightower should be able to run him down slowly but surely. Yeah, the difference in the tires is only 3 laps, but they're 3-lap fresher tires every lap of your race. Kind of like my older brother. No matter how old we get, I can never catch him. He's always older than me.
Meanwhile, the first driver in the pit, Nick Cohan, we talked about how beat up his car was and how far back he was. I didn't think he would make up any spots. He is now up to 17th position. That just shows you how big of effect this strategy has really played. Of course, he is probably the slowest car on track right now.
Still on the lead lap, and let's put out the news to him. I'd like to see him pit again on lap 50. Same as his car number. Should be easy to remember. Let's break this up into 3 stints.
And then you'd have to make an extra pit stop than everyone else.
Yeah, but he's going so much faster all the time. That's what I say. It's like the tortoise and the hare, buddy. 19 cars on the lead lap right now.
Yeah, and it's going to be less than that very soon. Ricky Monzo racing in a damaged number 90 machine after hitting the wall earlier. And now Nick Cohan will actually be the second car in line for Krahula to put a lap down, because Adam Blattel just passed him for 17th. Boy, I think Woodrow Mahan in 16th. Every car behind him seems to have some kind of damage, where they're just sliding up on the exit of turn 2. It's like we have a Darlington stripes at the Lady in Black. We're having the Texas stripes here tonight.
Let's take a quick look. Running 12th right now, the car number 23. That's JD Laird. Just worked his way around Drew Carroll. Laird is your hard charger. He started 19th. currently up, I believe, now to 11th, so he's picked up, do the math, I think it's 8 spots.
Yeah, well, JD Laird was one of the last drivers to pit, so he is one of those cars who has really fresh tyres out there right now. So he's trying to use that to his advantage. Brian Jarzik in front of him for 10th.
Yeah, Laird gonna get this one pretty soon.
So the battles have kind of broke up around the track, although, well, did something happen to... I think I'm reading right that Jeff Ward just overtook 2 cars on the last lap. Boy, he's really going.
Here we see Ward running in 4th position right now.
Yeah, Ward just ran about half a second faster last lap than all those cars that that are right behind him. So he should be running down for Dan Murray here very soon for 3rd. He was half a second faster than him that time by.
And just to double up here, just to follow up a little bit more on JD Laird, as he did get around Brian Jarzik. He ran the fastest lap time the last lap, so he's got that car moving. Keep an eye on that 23. Currently now up into 10th position.
And look at the drivers ahead of him. Jake Wright, we saw him have his troubles earlier on. Now granted, the top 10 should still be enough for him to advance in the race, but this is definitely not as far back as we're used to seeing Jake Wright.
And Laird is a-coming.
Yeah, now of course we mentioned how James Kahula, by pitting early, had a huge lead. He still does, but Jordan Hightower is eating up into it. He's taken a few tenths out of Kahula, actually half a second last time by. If he keeps that up, Hightower will retake the top position in about 5 laps from now.
Kahula's lead right now 1.6 seconds back to Hightower. But Hightower's nibbling away at that. And back to the 23 car. Laird gets around right. Give Laird another spot, now up into 9th.
Yeah, and Cohan just came in on lap 46, so he must be trying this strategy you were talking about, Bill. I'm still not convinced it's going to work.
Well, what does he have to lose? That's what we're saying. I like the 50 car right now in there. Nice job, Nick.
Well, I think Jordan Hightower just took... Well, he only took 3 tenths of a second out of Kahula that time by, but the interval now between them is just over a second. He's closing in. Jeff Ward, meanwhile, also has those newer tyres. He's back there in 3rd, but he's about 4 seconds behind these guys. Now as we approach the halfway point of this race, let's go and do our advocate through the field. We'll run down the top 10 here before it changes up too much. And Bill, jump in if Jordan Hightower gets James Kahula here, because I think we're going to be back to these drivers very shortly, running in 1st and 2nd right now. We mentioned Jeff Ward also on slightly newer tyres, but he's all the way back in 3rd place. Dan Murray running a solid 4th place, having a bit of a quiet race in the middle. At the start we saw him involved in a lot of action. Chad Coleman just moved up into 5th ahead of Tommy Ryan in 6th. Alan Creer is back there in 7th position right now, ahead of Troy Haight, who has had a solid race tonight, been running at the tail end of the top 10, slowly beginning to move his way forward though. We talked about JD Laird trying to rally his way through the field, 9th, and Drake Wright.
Let's go up to the front, because Sam called it. He got to 10th position there before Hightower was able to run down Kahula. So there's your new leader now. As they cross the line, they're going to be right at the halfway mark. So if you're scoring at home or watching alone, mark it at the halfway mark, Jordan Hightower.
Well, I'm always watching alone here, Bill, but I got you to talk to. It makes it a bit better. We hope you're all enjoying watching this broadcast here on the GSRC. We actually just had a change for position for 8th place as JD Laird moved up behind Troy Haight, and actually I think we had the car in the wall not too far behind them. There's a real big pack of cars over in turn 3 now. For you viewers watching, just want to give you a social media shout out on GSRC's behalf on YouTube, also on Twitter at GSR Channel, and Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. Change for 5th place on the track, Tommy Ryan looking underneath Dan Murray for 3rd. We haven't been able to catch all these passes for position, Bill, but they've all been quite similar because of the difference in tyres. The drivers who have been chased down, they've known there's nothing worth fighting with still half a race to go. They're kind of just letting the cars with the faster tyres running faster than them at that point in time go by on the low side. Maybe they'll be able to run them down in the closing half of this race.
Most of the stints here for the run that they're doing right now, about 18 to 23 laps that are out there. The guy who's been running the longest is Don Runkle, currently running in 17th position.
Yeah, and he pitted on lap 27, but of course you've kind of got to split it into 30 lap segments to make it to the end of the race on one more stop. So I'd expect him to go to, well, probably about lap 60 or so. Just a bit beyond that. Troy Haight lost 2 positions last time around. We just did our advocate through the field, talked about how he had been hanging on to the tail end of the top 10, well he's knocked out of that now. Brian Jarzik has moved up into 9th and Jake Wright has moved up into 10th. 2 drivers who we'd expect to be up in the top 5.
JD Laird just makes the pass around Alan Cryer in the 119, so again, he's got a ways to go. What he needs is a yellow because the car's pretty darn fast. We're talking about that number 23 out there, now up into 7th.
Yeah, of course he has that tyre advantage, but as you mentioned, Bill, he's also been pretty fast. We know that, given that he was fastest in practice. But now's the part of a run where I'm beginning to get concerned, Bill, because it was around this far into the run at the start of the race that we saw cars beginning to push out of turn 2 and knock that wall down. We'll see if all of them are able to hang on to it as they approach their second round of pit stops.
As we are getting these on some of our longest stints, like let's see how long Hightower's been out there. He's his stint right now has been 23 laps, so he's probably going to go another 10 and he'll be in. It won't be long at the pace they're running. How about how clean this has been, Sam? Great driving, competitive racing, 1 yellow flag only.
No, we didn't have a yellow flag. We did have a car wreck out on the back straight, yeah.
That was right. The pit stop was under green. It's been so long since I've covered a stock car race with a green flag pit cycle. That's right.
Yeah, meanwhile, only 14 cars on the lead lap now. Woodrow Mahan running in 15th just got lapped, and he might lose a position very soon. Adam Blattall running right behind him. The 07 and the 104. Adam's going to get him on the exit here. This is the biggest fight I think I've seen anyone put up today. And now it's over. Woodrow Mahan realises Blattall's under him. He's got the desired line. He'll drop back in position, try not to burn off his tyres too much.
And honestly, I wouldn't know JD Laird if I saw him compared to Alan Laird, but I don't even know who Alan Laird is, but if they're... He's made up another spot now as he's moved his way up to 6. He's got around Dan Murray. I found I've got my new crush on a driver here, the number 23 car.
So now Jordan Hightower crosses the line, completes lap 59. We're within about 40 laps to go very shortly here. And sure enough, our second round of stops is kicking off. Ricky Monzo, I guess he thinks he can make it to the end from here. So how many people are going to follow Ricky in? Yeah, Woodrow Mahan, Don Runkle Jr., the two drivers who kicked off our first round of stops. Dan Murray from top 10.
Our leader stays out.
Not too surprising, Bill. Hightower was one of the drivers who pitted a bit later in the first cycle, and it paid off for him in the long run. In fact, speaking of that, Jeff Ward is looking for second on James Kahula.
Kahula, one of the first to pit. So it's funny how it worked for Kahula for almost the whole run there, and then Jeff Ward finally able to run him down.
I say, looking on him, I saw the interval and it said 0.2 of a second. I thought that means, oh, he was right underneath him. Of course, 0.2 of a second at 160 miles an hour is a bit more than that. Nick Cohanna is going by them.
That's my guy in the 50 using that three-stop strategy. That a boy, Nick.
You see him appearing on the right side there, the number 50, breaking up his battle for a bit longer.
Cohan may not win, but he's going to get the award for passing the most cars on track.
Yeah, well, we've known Cohan to try different strategies before. I don't know how well this one will pay off. He should be back in the pits in the next 10 or 20 laps when everyone else is too.
Hightower stays out. I got a hunch he's going to run it to lap 66 and bring it in. Break this thing up into even thirds.
I wouldn't be surprised, I'll be honest, Bill. We saw about 5 drivers kick off this round of stops when they knew they could make it to the end, and no one's been down pit road for the last couple of laps. Come on, leaders, you have a chance to shake things up a little bit here. Of course, they could just be a caution could change things up in the closing stages here. And we almost saw one there. Mark Nober at the moment coming out of turn 4 as Ward takes second position. James Kahula into the pits. He loses that position, says, okay, I'll get some new tyres, and Tommy Ryan, JD Laird following him in behind. Now this is interesting for JD Laird here, Bill. He was one of the drivers who stopped late in the first cycle.
Yeah, he's right there at lap 66, so I think this will give him probably the best rubber for the remainder of the race. Skids it into his pits. Got a little bit cockeyed, but I think it's going to work out okay. He'll take just enough fuel. I don't think he probably needs the whole fill it up all the way. Brings it on out. Let's hope there's no speeding penalty for him or for any of these drivers.
Jordan Hightower and Jeff Ward are also into the pits. There's not going to be a whole lot of changing for position going on here. Brian Yarzik, Drake Wright and Drew Carroll have stayed out.
Yarzik in the 55 with the pink numbers on it there for Breast Cancer Awareness Month gets passed up by the 104. That's Adam Brettel.
Meanwhile, the driver who's going to be leading all this once everyone cycles through is Dan Murray, due to him pitting so early. Now granted, I expect him to lose all those positions on those old tyres. And I say that, I'm sorry, Jordan Hightower actually got out ahead of Dan Murray. But he will be in second.
Hightower out and in front of Murray, but his real competition is going to be Ward, and he's out in front of Ward by about Oh, it looks to be about 2 seconds, maybe a little more.
Yeah, and they all pitted at the same time, Bill. I just don't see how Ward is going to be able to run down that time given Hightower's pace today.
And let me correct myself. Krahula is actually out in front of Ward. Assuming Krahula has made that stop. Yes, he has.
Yeah, he pitted just 1 lap before Ward, so either that 1 lap on fresher tyres or he just got a better entry and exit off of pit road. He has got a big gap on Jeff Ward right now that Ward is going to have to try and run down. Remember, the only way Krahula makes it into the chase is if he wins. So he is a driver who has to win right now, and Jordan Hightower is stopping him from doing that. Jarzik exits the pits. Drew Carroll was in the pits. This will move Jordan Hightower back up to the top spot.
Yeah, with the success that Jarzik and Wright and Ward are having, I think you're right. Krahula's now looking to see how he gets that check fight first.
I think he's going to have to find out Jordan Hightower's IP address and spam his account or something. Give it a virus.
Remember, Hightower not in the chase. He's a wild card.
So I think that cycles all of the pit stops through for our leaders with about 30 laps left to go here. James Krahula has just taken second from Dan Murray. He's probably about to lose. Murray's probably... No, that's a lap car behind him.
Now I'm showing Murray has made 2 stops, so I think he's in the same. He pitted early, but I think he's in the same mix as these guys on about 5 laps older tires, though.
Yeah, he is. He had been running around 4th, 5th, 6th position for most of the race. Used that early stop to try and get up to the front. The problem is it's not working now as he's dropping back a bit.
So it's Hightower with about a 3-second lead over Krahula and about a 1.5-second lead over Murray, but Murray is falling quickly. In fact, Murray, way we can watch this, Murray is about to lose this position to Jeff Ward here.
Last stop of the race for Nick Cohan. He's down pit road again. I'm not a fan of this strategy, Bill.
Yeah, it may not work, but I think he had a fun time racing. And there you see the pass as Ward gets around Murray.
He missed his pit stall. That's not going to help him.
Well, when you take 3 stops, you got 2 of them, right? So Jeff Ward into 3rd, Murray now back into 4th. And the guy we've been watching all race, and I think he's going to have Murray's number here pretty quick because he's coming fast, J.D. Laird.
Yeah, Laird ran almost a second faster than Murray last time by, and he's only 2.5 seconds back, so about 3 or 4 laps. We will see a change for position in 4th. I would say a battle for position, but I just don't think there's going to be much Murray can do here.
Then in 6th, it's Tommy Ryan. Now remember, he's locked in.
Yeah, going by the lap car of Ricky Monzo here. He's knocked down the turn 2 wall a couple of times today. 14 cars still on the lead lap. A reminder, this is the 3rd and final round in the elimination round of 8 for the Premier Racing League Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series. 4 drivers will advance into the Championship 4 at the end of tonight. Right now it looks like they're going to be Brian Jarzik, Drake Wright, Jeff Ward and Tommy Ryan. The only way that could change is if James Krahula takes a win. Dan Murray in for a late stop.
So that's going to give that spot to Laird. He was running up on that. This is a nice little battle. We haven't talked much about this guy. Currently running 6th position. Chad Coleman. He is running up on the back here at Tommy Ryan. He should be able to get that. And now with Murray dropping out, this is a battle for the top 5. It's funny how my psyche changes a little bit. When I do When I do road course racing, I'm thinking podiums. When I do an oval here with tops on them, I think top 5.
Yeah, Jack Coleman's had a solid race here, as you mentioned, just behind Tommy Ryan for 5th. So I guess what we need to work out here is if something were to happen to Hightower and Krahula were to win, who would get eliminated? It would be either Jeff Ward, Drake Wright or Brian Yarzik. Now those guys are only 2 points behind apart from each other in points. The driver of those running worse today, well, Brian Yarzik and Drake Wright, it'd be a toss-up between one of those two who gets knocked out, but providing Jordan Hightower maintains his 3-second lead up front, it won't matter a heck of a lot.
Ward running in 3rd, I think he would be safely in there. Wright running right now in 8th position. And Yarzik, if I can find him, running in 9th. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think Drake Wright being 2 positions ahead of Brian Yarzik right now, it would knock Brian Yarzik out if Jordan Hightower were to disappear. And you can see Yarzik's having some connection trouble. And if he were to lose the connection entirely, he could lose out to James Krahula on points. So it's still not over.
20 laps to go, and about just under a 4-second lead for Jordan Hightower. I gotta admit, I am so happy to sit in here for this series. I've done a lot of stock car series before. My goodness, what a great show these guys are putting on. 80 laps, all under green.
Now, of course, everyone whose name isn't Jordan Hightower probably wouldn't mind a caution to finish this race off. And Jordan's quite happy to ride up there right now. He's extended his lead to 4 seconds over Krahula. Now let's see, Krahula might actually lose 2nd before this is over. He ran only 400 slower than Jeff Ward than 3rd the last time around, but I think Ward is closing in on him just a tiny bit.
I'm not so sure Brian Yarzik would like a yellow flag right now. I think he'd like things to stay the way they are. The last thing he needs is for Jordan Hightower, for Krahula to get up there and get the win, and somehow points need to be calculated, and all of a sudden he's running 9th and he finds himself out of the chase. So, yeah, I think Brian would like to see this last 17 laps just stay just about the way they are.
Now, some drivers who pitted early for that last cycle are coming in. I guess they realise they can't make it to the end. Ricky Monzo and Adam Bladel. Now, who were the drivers who pitted early were Woodrow Mahan and Don Runkle. They're still out on course. No, Mahan's coming in.
Yeah, Murray, probably your top driver that was doing the 3-stop strategy. He's out there right now. He's still a lap down.
Don Runkle coming in. Now I'm beginning to wonder if fuel mileage will be a concern at the end here, Bill. I didn't think it would be, because we saw some cars make it the lap 66, 67, which would make you think they could make it to the end.
Yeah, but some of those guys pitted at 61 or 62.
But surely they elected to do that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That's why you want to stick around here on GSRC. If there is no drama, Sam and I will be able to drum some up somewhere. Now we're talking fuel mileage.
Of course, the good news for Jordan Hightower is if fuel did become a concern for him, he's now got 5 seconds behind him that he could try and save time on. Talking about that battle for 2nd, Ward has run Krahula down now.
There you see Krahula in that citrus flavored number 24 there.
I know it's citrus. I know it's citrus coloured, Bill. That would be interesting if they began adding taste to the paint jobs
Well, they do.
of these cars. They do.
They do. Little known fact: if you ever go to lick a stock car, if you can get close to it.
Our director reminded us make sure the engine's cooled down first.
Dale Earnhardt, notorious for that licorice flavored car. There he gets around the 98. There's Ward's going to get the spot on the 24. Ward moves up in second.
JD Laird has made his way all the way up to 4th. Now he is running times quite similar to these guys running in the 2nd and 3rd. So it looks like JD Laird's march through the field will finish at 4th. Providing there's not, of course, another caution. Now, of course, one thing we've got to keep an eye on, Bill, if a caution did come out with 5 or 6 laps left to go, that would end it. iRacing doesn't have green-white checkers right now, of course, so it wouldn't. And, of course, I'm assuming if there was a caution around now, there would be a lot of pit strategy left to be played.
Oh, boy, that would be a tough decision. I would think you would have to come in, even if you're a leader. You'd have to come in, and then if you're one of the cars at the back, like Degla or Drew Carroll, you could go ahead and roll the dice, stay out, see what kind of position you get. You're running last on the lead lap anyway. What do you have to lose? Put yourself up front with a few to go. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we've gone 89 laps here under green. I think we're going to bring this baby home under power.
You're jinxing it, Bill.
And Hightower beginning even to gap himself a little bit now. 5-second lead on Ward. Ward pulling away from Krahula. The question is, can Krahula stay out in front of Laird? And I think so.
Oh, meanwhile, a bit of a development. Brian Jarzik has not only moved up into 8th place, so he's now only 1 position behind Jake Wright. He's closing in on Jake Wright. Now that would be this is a battle worth keeping an eye on in case Hightower were to go off into another dimension.
A 1-point difference between Jarzik and Wright. Jarzik in the better of it.
Yes, so now it would be tied. And then I guess it would come down to number of wins.
That would go to Wright. He's got 4 under his belt to Jarzik's 3.
So Jarzik, using my logic here, which was not official logic at all, that means Jarzik would have to get by Wright here.
Yeah, the last thing either one of those drivers do right now is they're very happy. They're the biggest fans of Jordan Hightower that there are.
And
the good news is behind Hightower now. If Hightower were to have trouble, at least Ward would get the win, and he's already in the chase, so it wouldn't be as costly.
True. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I confess, Bill, I was still under the impression Krahula was. Okay, so Ward and Hightower would have to disconnect. But the other good news for Jarzik and Wright here is that Hightower is now within about 7 laps left to go, closing in on 6 laps left to go. A caution would end it. So it looks like Hightower does have this win in the bag barring a catastrophe. Now, of course, the easiest way something like that could take place is with lap traffic in front of him if that became an issue. However, he's only got Pierre Daigle right in front of his windscreen right now, running out there 12th. Pierre Daigle, one of the drivers it looks like set to be knocked out of the chase here tonight. Let's run.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, let's run through the 4 drivers who look like they will be knocked out of this rate are Joe Hassett, Pierre Daigle, James Krahula and Brian Mellendorf.
Let's go ahead and put the camera on car number 5, currently running 13th position. That's Dan Murray. Why do I want to put the attention on him? Well, of all the cars that did that 3-stop strategy that I was a proponent of, he's your best driver right now. He is the leading car 1 lap down. And actually, he's right behind Pierre Daigle, so this will be for a position? I guess so, because Hightower, yeah, let me straighten you out. Hightower now has just got around Pierre Daigle for 12, so Daigle now goes 1 lap down, and then closing the distance on him is Murray.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Brian Yazek's connection has begun blinking in and out again. He's okay now, but that could knock him out of the chase if he were to lose the connection. He just needs it to hold up for 2 more minutes.
And Sam, we've now crossed the 5 to go mark, actually 4 to go, so we're in that dangerous position where a spin now, a yellow flag will put an end to the race. Well, virtual end of the race. As now we have 3 to go.
Yeah, which of course would be bad news for someone like Brian, because he wouldn't be able to make up any of those positions. But I'm sure he'll take it. He just wants this race to end before he loses the connection, or before Jordan Hightower and Jeff Ward get invaded by ghouls on this Halloween night. Hey, we never got to have a Coastal Safety Auditor's lucky dog today, but hope you're enjoying your Halloween, brothers.
Should be a lucky black cat today, I would think.
Alright, Jordan Hightower making his way down the back straight on lap number 99. Now if a wreck comes out after the white flag on iRacing, we keep on racing. So Jordan Hightower now just has 1.5 miles left to go. And if I'm not mistaken, he is closing in here on his first win in the 2016 Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series. And he has thoroughly deserved it. Him, Ward and Krahula were running up there battling for the lead early on. He used strategy and has been able to pull away. And even without that strategy, I think he probably had the fastest car of those 3 tonight. Here he comes, bringing the number 22 out of turn 4. Jordan Hightower crosses the line and wins here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Ward comes across in second. Krahula's going to get third. We talked about J.D. Laird. He's going to get fourth. And then that quiet Chad Coleman going to get that 5th spot.
And then rounding out the top 10 here, Tommy Ryan, Drake Wright and Brian Yazek's connection holds up to finish 8th place. That means Brian Yazek, Drake Wright, Jeff Ward and Tommy Ryan are all advancing into the championship 4. One of them will win the title at the end of the season. Joe Hassett, Pierre Daigle, James Krahula and Brian Mellendorf, thanks for playing. They've got 3 more opportunities to add to their win tally by the end of the season.
Alan Cryer and Duke Carroll round out your top 5. And the last car on the lead lap, or round out your top 10, last car on the lead lap, in 11th position, Troy Haight.
Yeah, and Dan Murray wasn't able to get by Pierre Daigle for 12th, 1 lap down. We'll run down the full order for you momentarily here on the GSRC. But we're going to take a quick break. We will be back in just a moment on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. It is Halloween night, but all the ghouls were elsewhere. It went caution-free for 100 laps in the Texas 150 in the third and final race of the round of 8 in the 2016 Premier Racing League Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series Trace for the championship. And here are your top finishers. Jordan Hightower took the win by almost 6 seconds over Jeff Ward. James Kahula finished in third place ahead of Drady Laird, who rallied his way through from 19th on the grid. Chad Coleman, quiet race, rounded out the top 5. Tommy Ryan, he advances because of a win earlier on in the elimination round of 8 there. He finishes 6th ahead of Drake Wright and Brian Yarzik. Not used to seeing those two that far back, but there they are, 7th and 8th ahead of Alan Creer and Drew Carroll, rounding out the top 10 there, Bill.
In 11th, Troy Haight, followed by Pierre Neindegla. In the Baker's Dozen position, Dan Murray, I watched him. He was the top driver using the 3-stop strategy. Travis Musquishian in 14th position. 15th went to Randy Holcomb. All ribbons and curls is Andrew Hoff. Adam Blattle in 17th spot, followed by Tommy Amasi. John Wilco in the 19th spot, and rounding out the top 20 is Woodrow Mahan.
Yeah, and then we get onto the final page here. Usually we say these are the drivers who weren't able to finish, but it's not the case. We still had a lot of cars running at the end there. Ricky Monzo and Don Runkle Jr. These are a lot of drivers who tried a 3-stop strategy, probably because they didn't have enough fuel to get to the end. Mark Nobert back there in 23rd place, and then Jonathan Lawrence in 24th place. Calvin Filarski, I guess he pulled out on the last round of stops then. Nick Cohan, we saw what happened to him on pit road and also early on in the race, and DJ Beverly, who did spin down the back straight, it didn't bring out the caution. Nick Thames and Chad Coleman would be listed in 29th. They did not start the race. Well, let's talk to some of our top finishers, and I'm sure James Kahula, he would be happy with a top 5 finish, and he would be happy that his series put on a clean caution-free race here. But at the end of the day, James, you were 2 positions shy of advancing into the championship 4.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be happy with a great run today, and we ran caution-free. But, I mean, the short of it is I screwed up at Iowa, and that ruined my entire season. So, along with that too, I ruined Mellendorf's season, and I still feel like crap for that, weeks later. But that's how this championship format works. I mean, you could argue about it all day long, but that's what we're racing on this season. So I could have maybe stayed out and ran with those guys, not pitted so early. That strategy normally works out, and it didn't play out really too well here for this one. But I mean, I ran a perfect race. I couldn't have done anything different. I'm happy with what we came. Nothing I could do. If I would have ran Iowa clean, then we wouldn't have had a problem.
Yeah, now we've mentioned this, James, Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series throughout the season. We've never really talked about what Coastal Safety Auditors have done, but can you tell us what they do? Because they put on they've helped sanction, helped sponsor a heck of a series this season. Oh, absolutely, and that's all DJ Beverly. He's jumped on. He's been a good friend of ours for many years, and he wanted to jump on and help us out this year. Helped us out with mini cup broadcasts, and he said, well, here, let's get a bunch of Grand National broadcasts too, and he's been great. Coastal Safety Auditors, they make fire and safety equipment, and they're based out of Durham, North Carolina. And again, I can't thank DJ Beverly enough. We have him to thank for Brutus, our lucky dog. I mean, he's been fantastic this whole season. We have 2 more races that we're going to get the broadcast here, the last 2 of the season, and we have a lot to thank for DJ. So at least hopefully he can be proud of his sponsorship, because he's had the worst luck on the track this season. But again, I can't thank him enough. He has definitely elevated this league well beyond than what it should be in its first year. And the last thing I suppose I need to ask, we did the unfortunate thing about it going green to the end here. We didn't see a whole lot of battles on track. We saw a lot of passing for position based on tyre strategy, but when a car kind of saw another one coming by, they would go high and let them by. Would have this track led itself to some good racing at the end here, do you think, if there had been a late caution?
We had some different opinions on what makes good racing. I mean, I think that everyone was able to. I mean, it's still one group. It might get multi-group for the Cup race tomorrow, but I mean, the track I thought raced good. I mean, these guys are getting better every single week, and you know, I just have so much fun racing out here with these guys. They. You know, again, they just make it you know, so much fun to come out here, and we're really looking forward to you know, to going forward. You know, we still have a championship to decide here in the next 3 races. It'll be interesting with you know, getting rid of the chase for next season, but you know, these guys have been great all year. I can't wait to see what the future holds with everybody.
Alright, well, we'll let you go, James, and I agree with you. It was great racing out there, but it's a different kind of racing we're used to seeing on the oval courses.
Old school.
Lots of strategy out there. Alright, and we look forward to seeing the Cup cars here in action tomorrow night on the Global Sim Racing channel, so we'll let James go. Now hand it over to Bill, who's caught up with our second place finisher. You've got Jeff Ward there, Bill.
I do. Jeff Ward, congratulations on second place. I know it's always nice to win, but really mission accomplished. You advance to the next round of the chase.
Yeah, Bill, that's you know, we come out here just to try to get a good run and get a top 5. I knew that would pretty much get us into the next round, and plus I think it was plus 17 coming in. So, you know, I was a little conservative getting on pit road. I think Jordan gained a lot of time on us in spots like that. Plus, he was good on the track too. I think we might have been able to run with him if weren't for that first cycle. I pitted way too late, and it kind of just run the whole race for me as far as trying to get the win. But you know, congrats to Jordan. He ran great out there, and yeah, it was fun battling with James there. Hate to see that he didn't make the cut, but I'm sure you know, he's a good driver, so we'll get him next time. But yeah, man, second. Hopefully, we can keep the momentum rolling going into Phoenix.
Just to walk me through the strategy, I understand about the tires. Fuel really not an issue. What was the longest you could run on a stint? Was it like 35, 40 laps? Was that where we are about?
Yeah, I think I went 35 on that first run, when really I probably should have went 32 or 33 like James did there. And we might have been in a better position. But I thought it'd come down to fuel a little more than it did. When I crossed the line, I had 3 or 4 laps to the good. So it was, you know, it didn't really turn out to be a fuel race. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really wish they'd get it where you could run up by the wall and open up some other grooves. But, you know, I think it's coming in the future. And when they finally get to that point, I think it'll be a blast.
We had some YouTube chat wanted me to follow up on this. Just to clarify, you are not the Jeff Ward that was the 1997 Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year. Is this correct?
No, sir. I'm a big fan, though, and I actually get asked that a lot.
Well, you know what's the surprise? We've come across a couple times where we have Richie Hearn in here, who has raced at Indy, and every once in a while we have to do our due diligence and make sure we're not talking to somebody who's been at the Brickyard. Well, you're coming now to the last. Let's go into your idea, your strategy, your mindset here as you move into this next round. What are you thinking? Is it to go out there and get the win, or are you just what's the strategy coming up for you?
Well, since the chase started, it's there's been some really fast guys join. It's gotten super competitive. I'm not saying that it wasn't before, but we went from, you know, having a top 3 car to maybe sometimes even you know, 5th to 7th place car as fast as these guys are. So going into Phoenix, I think it's really going to be more of a defensive thing than it is offense. So we'll just go in there and really racing for top 5s, and unless we can just find the speed to keep up with some of them. So
well, the good news is that Atlanta is in the next set of, and that's kind of similar to this one. So you had luck here at at Texas, maybe Atlanta will be similar for you.
Yeah, Homestead's pretty good too. I'm not a big fan of Atlanta, but I think we could probably try to get a top 5. But Homestead's a lot better track for us, so we'll see what happens.
All right, well, let's hope the Homestead one matters to you. Good luck to you the rest of the way, and we'll see you down the road. There we have Jeff Ward. He's in the next round, and he's your second place finisher today. Sam, who do you got?
Well, we're going to go down to Victory Lane and catch up with our race winner Jordan Hightower here. Jordan, congratulations on your first win in the 2016 Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series.
I appreciate it. We had a pretty good run out there today.
Yeah, and you seemed to do it with a very late stop in the first round of pit stops there. Was that planned?
I didn't really know what my plan was. I was kind of out there running to see what everybody else was doing and to see how the tires would fall off. I ran through my head to, do pit on lap 20 or 25 or just wait until 33, and ended up waiting, and so I kind of made my own bed with that one. But it ended up working out, so it seemed to be all good.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself here, Jordan, because you're quite new to the series. What other divisions do you race in? Is a Grand National is this Class B Xfinity car a car that you're used to?
I've been sim racing since 05, but I recently joined Premier just a couple months ago. I haven't ran too many races due to some other stuff I had going on, but yeah, I like the Xfinity car, and I ran my first Truck Series race yesterday and finished second at Texas. But I haven't ran too many races with Premier yet.
Yeah, well, this Texas track really seems to be doing quite well for you. We got 3 races left in the season. Do you expect to be back for all 3 of them?
Yeah, I should be back for all 3 of them. I really do enjoy Texas, so I made it a point to be here. It's my favorite track, so I really wanted to be here for that one.
Yeah, it's your favourite track, and we could definitely tell why at the end of tonight with that race win out there. How do you enjoy the racing of this series? I mean, we obviously saw something unique tonight in a caution-free run where there was a lot more strategy out there than usual.
It kind of depends on what end of the deal you're on. I mean, if you're leading, you definitely don't want a caution. But if you're, running 5th or on back or something, and you can't really catch up to the lead, you'd probably like to see one. But I definitely did not want to see a caution, and I'm glad one didn't fall. It's always a relief to be able to go into a league and run a race like that caution-free with so many people.
All right, well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Jordan. Anything else you'd like to say before we let you go and celebrate?
I just got to thank James and the guys at Premier for putting this on and letting me show up, and I got to thank JD Lade for painting my awesome looking paint scheme.
Hey, every car looks great in Victory Lane, but absolutely, your car certainly was turning heads out there tonight. Well, congrats, Jordan, and we'll see you back next time.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Alright, so that was our race winner, Jordan Hightower. We have... Alright, so yeah, let's run down the point standings here. You're gonna pull up the Championship 4. There you see them. Tommy Ryan, Jeff Ward, Brian Yarzik, and Jake Wright will be the ones battling out for the championship at Phoenix, Homestead, and Atlanta. There's no championship round like you see in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. The champion will be the one who can score the most amount of points in those last 3 races, and it will be very interesting to see which one of them takes home the championship bill, or any of those 3 will be a deserving champion.
It's all 4 of them would be deserving champions, but my money's on the 27. I know him from the Lionheart series. He says he's on a roll right now. And since I'm not going to be part of any of those broadcasts, I can go ahead and make my prediction. So if you're in Vegas, see what the odds are on Jake Wright.
Yes, and so let's hang up here because it appears that I need some counting lessons. This series will be back in action next week at Phoenix. That will be the first of their final 3 rounds there. We're not going to broadcast the Grand National Series until the second round, though, of the Championship 4, and that will be at Homestead. And then we will also have coverage of the finale in Atlanta later on in November. Now, if you like what you see in the Premier Racing League, and who doesn't after a race like what we saw here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway, they will be racing the Cup cars tomorrow night at Texas again. So be sure to tune in for that. We would like to thank the organisers and the competitors in the Premier Racing League Coastal Safety Auditors Grand National Series for coming here tonight and putting on a great clean show. We would also like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware. There you see them all on your screen. Thanks to the team today, Bill Zahn, Joe Peak and our camera guru Dougie Beard. If you'd like to find out more about, and I've started doing this, Bill, if you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, I'm just going to abuse this now, at Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. A special thanks also goes out to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide us with our music. You can buy Eric's on iTunes and Spotify, and Casey's at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. All of our upcoming races for our other series are now on screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.